Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Common Sense Academy. I am your host, Joe Palmetto, Joe the lawyer. Thank you for joining me on a fabulous Wednesday night here in Pittsburgh. It is cold. It is cold out. We got snow today in parts of Pittsburgh. So not only is there a virus ravaging the entire world, it is snowing in May, something that is a little strange. Hey, Warren, but thank you everyone for joining me. I see President Trump is here. Carl is here. Sonny is here. Thank you everyone for coming in. We'll do the same time sip at about the 15-minute mark. So what's going on this week in the world of the Common Sense Academy? Some of you may have seen the video. Hey, Tom, how you doing? Zaid, good evening. Joe Watson, 90 degrees in lower Alabama. That's what I'm talking about. My mom's in Florida, and she says it's nice and warm. So I did a live stream with, hey, Barbecue Bob, thanks for joining us. I did a live stream with this guy, Shiva the Scam Destroyer. He's from the UK, and it was interesting. It was a lot of fun. We talked about First Amendment auditors. He reached out to me to talk specifically about First Amendment auditors and the city of Tucson and how they had hey, everyone. Hey, Joe. Hey, Chuck. Tampa Bay. Nice and warm down there, I'm sure. Anyway, the city of Tucson had passed an ordinance specifically to control auditors. This guy, Bao, who goes around, he does this channel Clash with Bao, was causing problems in Tucson. So they created a law just to curb that dude, which is pretty funny. 72 in the UK. That ain't bad, man. That ain't bad. It's cold here in Pittsburgh. I think we're in the 40s. Which, you know, it was real warm there for a couple of weeks, and these last few days it got cold, and then it snowed, and it's 45. It had snowed in some parts of Pittsburgh, and it's supposed to be even colder over the weekend. It's like a little mini winter that we're getting. Thoughts on the deputy minister from the microstates? I think somebody put this in the chat. Microstates sound like a club. It sounds like a club or a nation. For like-minded people, you know, a group of people to get together and talk and have common interests and I guess have a little bit of fun. I don't know, feeling like you're a part of a country or your own little nation. Maybe that's just like a flavor for a club, right? You know, 70, 80 years ago, hey, Chief, hey, Adam, 52 in Lancaster. It's 45 in Pittsburgh right now. You know, many, many years ago, I'm 37, but, you know, like our grandparents' generation, my grandparents' generation, the generation before that, everybody used to be a part of a club, right? People in America, I'm sure in the UK it was similar. People would be part of, you know, the Rotary Club, or, you know, and here in the United States, you have like the Italian American Club, and you have the VFW, and all those different clubs, right? Well, nowadays we have internet clubs because most of those club memberships are gone. They're not gone, but they're not as big as they used to be. So that's what I thought about the micronation, microstate. What I was interested in finding is the people who take it really, really seriously. You know, the prime minister who we met or whatever, he didn't seem to take it too seriously. It was just fun for him. You know, I'd be interested to find somebody who's real hardcore. I'm sure there are sovereign citizens in, you know, I mean, the Moors, somebody said it in the chat, like the Moors are a micro nation of sovereign citizens. Like they're trying to set up their own country. Vatican shipping wars, citizenship, you are considered missing or lost at least. Further, I'm not watching, I'm viewing. Many clubs still exist. Absolutely. Listen, they still exist, but like I read somewhere that membership in those clubs is just tremendously down. Like it used to be, in the 40s and the 50s, and everybody was a part of 3 or 4 clubs, and like people actually went. Like I'm a part of like 10 different clubs that I never go to, right? Like it's just the membership is not the same. Of course, they still exist, but I think what you see more of is this sort of thing, like online stuff. Like the world has just changed so much. And I was researching for my book, and I came across the Washita Nation, which is a nation of Moors founded by a woman who calls herself an empress down in Louisiana. Now, she claims that the Moors, it's a little bit different. She claims that her people are the descendants of the Indians, the Native Americans that lived in the Missouri/Mississippi River Valley and built the ancient mounds, right? The Native Americans didn't build like elaborate castles or forts, though there were many towns, especially the Iroquois. The Iroquois up in Canada and the Northeast had the long houses. They were actually quite advanced. But a lot of the Indian cultures are categorized by their mounds. They went through mound building phases. So she claims that the African Americans, I guess, the blacks, I don't know, the dark-skinned people down there in New Orleans or Louisiana are descendants of the mound building Native Americans. Now, she passed away, but she wrote a book. I'm going to buy the book. I am going to read the book. That looks like an interesting book, and it's on Amazon. That's one of the more interesting sovereign citizen books I'm going to buy and read. And there is a book, I think I mentioned this once before as well. Sorry, I took a nap earlier, and I get all these crusties in my eye. I'm probably giving myself coronavirus. Excuse me. There was another book on Amazon about sovereign citizens written by a psychiatrist, and it seemed to be really in depth, really interesting. It was like $70, like $70 book. Good morning, Chuck. We need to do a stream together. Has there been a case where the sovereign citizens won hands down? I haven't seen one, Robert. I haven't seen one. If you watch, there was this guy, Eldonthian McAllister. He's a YouTube Sov guy who goes around, and he probably gets paid to make these seminars. I don't know if he gets paid, but he does these seminars, and he teaches the common law, the real common law. And he talked about one time he came in and he represented one of his clients, and the judge sided with him, with his client, and then they went and the judge brought him in the back chambers and was talking to him and was shaking his hand. I mean, there's stories. Listen, and you can find a story for anything that happened in court. Okay, there are stories for everything. Oh, this one time, that time. So I wouldn't say that it's never happened. I've never seen a video where it happened. Okay, and we have lots of videos, right? Juan Galt. I want to do a stream with him as well. New Jersey. I read somewhere most Pittsburgh Steelers fans are sovereign citizens. No, we're not part of the sovereign citizen nation. We're part of the Super Bowl winning Steeler nation. Yes, it is our own nation, although we follow the laws for the most part. And we just win Super Bowls and dominate professional football. Are you on a time delay? Your voice doesn't match your video stream. I am not, but that could be happening on your end. Some people report that. Is anybody else experiencing that? Hey, Clifford, things are going pretty well. He who represents a sovereign citizen has a fool for a client. Absolutely. Absolutely. So no court records exist with a sovereign victory on record. I don't know. They may exist. I just haven't seen one. I mean, you have to imagine thousands of people go through the court system every day. So you're talking millions of people in America go through the court system every year. And so I know one thing, actually. So cold here, I got a space heater on just to warm me up. Millions of people go through the court system in the United States, in England, in all these countries every year. You know, who knows? Some sov might have got up there and spit his bullshit, and the judge didn't want to deal with it. Who knows? We've seen that from cops a couple of times. I've seen that from cops. Anyway, the Washita Nation, pretty fascinating, you know, and some of you have pointed out their flags. I've gone over their flags in some of my videos. And apparently they've split off into little splinter groups down in the South. The Moorish sovereign citizens, there's just so much to talk about with them. So much to talk about. But I just wrote a section on the Washita for my book. I have only a couple of more sections to go. And then I got to do editing, which could also take a couple of weeks. It's coming, everybody. It's coming. I'm going to get that for you. It's coming. I can't wait. I'm excited. Writing a book is a lot more work than I thought. I wouldn't have been able to do it without the coronavirus lockdown, to be perfectly honest, or it would have taken me even longer. I'm over 20,000 words. You know, it's an ebook. The average book is about 40 to 50,000 words. This is going to probably be in the 20 to 25,000 range. It'll be an ebook. It'll be a couple of bucks. You can buy it off Amazon. I'm also going to offer it if you are a patron on my Patreon, which is in the description of every single one of my videos. But anybody who signs up as a patron on Patreon will get a free version of the ebook. So if you support me on Patreon, free version of the ebook when it comes out. That's going to happen unless Joe catches the coronavirus and gets really sick here in the next couple of weeks, or something else terrible happens. This is a thought I have. So I've been doing a lot of the social distancing and staying, doing like I have a mask. And if I'm going, we're, in Pennsylvania, there's basically a mask order right now. If we're going into the grocery store, the stores, I don't go. The only places I go is I have my house. I go to my office. I go to the grocery store, and I go through drive-throughs. Like, that's been my whole life. I'm sure all of you are in similar weird routines like that. You basically go to three places. Now I go for walks, okay, but everywhere I go. So I've been social distancing to, I think, a pretty good degree. With that said, and I don't want to seem insensitive here, but I usually get sick around this time of the year, just like whatever, a cold, a flu, a cough or something. And right now, I haven't been sick since like last summer. So I think social distancing works. Like, I have not been sick in 8 or 9 months. An autographed, well, you know what? I actually saw some people do that on Patreon. I can't do an autographed ebook, President Trump. Maybe what I may do, though, because you'll be able to get a hard copy as well. Listen, on the Patreon, you get a free ebook. That's what you're going to get. But I may be able to do a discounted price for an autographed hard copy on Patreon. I'm actually going to look into that. That's a good one, President Trump, as far as the autographed. I look into that. But if you're on my Patreon, you'll automatically get a copy plus other. I haven't really been doing, I send messages and put PDFs. I've done some exclusive videos, but I'm going to pick that up more going forward. There's also, because I hit so many subscribers, I can open a YouTube club. So my YouTube club membership is being opened as well. And merchandise will be coming soon. So all these things will be there. And just know, if you support me on Patreon, you buy my merchandise, it's going to help me to free up to make more content. I'm going to do this book. And I can tell everybody right now, I want to write a book on First Amendment auditors as well. So that's going to be the next book. This one's on sovereign citizens. Then I'm going to do an ebook on First Amendment auditors. So So I got a bunch of stuff coming out. This is a lot of fun. And I actually love writing. It's just hard to find the time to do it. I do it a lot in my legal practice, but it's different because sometimes legal writing is fun and sometimes it is incredibly boring. So sometimes I get to be creative, but a lot of times it's just I'm just confined in legal writing. And writing this has been a lot of fun because I get to put my opinions in, et cetera, be a little more creative. I found last week I've already had the virus just prior to the. Wow, Joe. Well, you got the antibodies and you got it out of your way. Good work. Problem with social distance, you're reducing your immunity to common illnesses. Like you said, you normally get ill. Yeah, probably true, President Trump. Probably true. Again, I usually get sick. I think most people get sick once a year, twice a year. But I really have not been. I haven't been sick for probably 8 months now. You know, if this social distancing keeps up, I might go sick. You know, again, I usually get a cold, usually get a little cough or a little strep throat is pretty common. So, you know, FAAs are much like SOVs and they both hate the police and think the laws exist to protect and serve them. Absolutely. Only, you know, the SOVs are just loonier. I put them on another level. But the First Amendment auditors can be just as bothersome. Why do you hate First Amendment auditors so much? I don't hate them. I don't think hate would be the word. I find them interesting and I like to clown on the ones that act like clowns. That's all. I don't hate them. I think that it's a good thing to videotape police interactions, but going inside the post office and videotaping postal workers, like you are just a nuisance. Some of these guys, it's like there's like a traffic accident. Okay, and the First Amendment auditors come up and they start engaging the police who are investigating a traffic accident. I mean, come on. They're just there trying to help people who maybe got hurt, and you got to come up with a camera. They don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? They don't know what's going on. Chuck, we got to do a group live stream. I've learned, I think that I can get the screen. I can get the dual screen. I got to learn how to use Discord, I guess. Okay, everybody, raise your cup, your glass in the air. This year belonged to my stepdad, 40th Eagle Class, Allegheny Trails Council. That's another hobby of mine. I love walking on trails. I've been doing that during this. So everybody raise your glass, your cup in the air. It tastes better when we sip together. Let's cheers to making it through another week of this pandemic. Let's hope that our lives can get back to normal sooner rather than later. And we'll cheers to Joe finishing the book. Sip with me. Tastes better when we sip together. Cheers. So anything you guys want to discuss, or I can just talk about, you know, stuff that's going on. The Raiders glass is risen. The Raiders glass is raised. Prost, kampai, salute. Actually able to have a beer. Cheers to that. Here in Florida, we're slowly re-engaging, hopefully regain some societal and economic equilibrium. So far, so good as it relates to behaviors and folks abiding by the new norms. There are a few real activists out there. In that community. Actually, yes, are wills state specific? Yes, they are, Carl. Yes, they are. Each state has their own idiosyncratic rules when it comes to wills. With that said, most of the general principles are going to be the same from state to state. I don't do wills. I don't do estates and trusts. I did some wills early on in my practice. A lot of people think, oh, it's just a simple thing for an attorney to do. Go get a pen and a piece of paper, and here you go. Here's your will. There's so much more to it than that. Every case is different. They're complicated. You have to create. Sometimes you have to create trusts within the will. I had one of the first wills I did. The person had a special needs child. Okay, so they had it was a woman, and she had 3 kids, and one of the kids was special needs. So I had to craft all of these carve outs in her will to make sure that it would work for her special needs child. Like, she wanted money put aside just for that child to be taken care of. It was much more complicated than people thought. For Saul Goodman. The plain truth of the matter is, like, pretty much everything in the law is complicated. Okay, everything is complicated. And that's because there are like 1,000 different like contingencies for every legal issue that you encounter. And you don't necessarily need to know each of them each and every time, but every case has its own idiosyncratic issues. And until you've really built up that experience, okay, it takes a tremendous amount of work to get it right the first time. So that was the problem with the wills, is like, I didn't want to dedicate my time to it if it wasn't something that was going to be part of my future practices. That's why so many attorneys tend to specialize these days. Now, I am a bit of a general practitioner, but wills are actually very specialized. What I do is I do civil litigation and I do criminal litigation, which are both, they're different but similar. Estates and trusts is a whole, like, its own different universe. Like, contracts can be a different universe. It's a lot of work. On Swindle Hoodwink stream last night, the theory that moron grifter Paulette is actually a man. Both now regulate their drip. Sorry, I'm late just now. The sovereign citizen on Twitter wanted to change the American flag to the Chinese flag. Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. Is special needs code for sovereign citizen? I think sovereign citizen is code for special needs. Wonder if police are missing smashing soft sit windows lately with. I'm sure that they are. I am sure that they are. In the UK, free wills are big business. They do the will free, but make themselves executors, charging $250 per hour for their services. I bet, man. And listen, here in the United States, you can go on LegalZoom. Look, you can having a crappy will is probably better than having no will. All right. So you can go on LegalZoom and write up a crappy will. But I'm telling you, there is nothing to replace a lawyer actually doing it. And especially nowadays, how wills are done is it's not just a will. There's also got to be a durable power of attorney and a living will. So all these exigencies, like what happens if what happens if you become a human vegetable? Do you want the plug pulled? Okay, all those things, all those different contingencies. And only a lawyer is going to be able to explain it to you in a way that you understand, or you can read it off your LegalZoom will, your LegalZoom living will. And then a durable power of attorney. Well, who do you want to take care of your finances while you're a vegetable? And who do you want to take care of your finances while you're a vegetable, if that something happens to that person that you name? There's a lot of crap, man. I'm at war with that sovereign who wanted to change the flag. What's your Twitter handle, Adam? I got to check it out. Sovereign citizens, yeah, they rode the short bus. Why couldn't the sovereign citizen make it? Because he was always getting called. That's a good one. Maybe I should put a section. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a section in the book for jokes. Okay, sovereign citizen jokes. Because that's a pretty good one, Clifford. And I'm going to put that on the community tab. So either comment on my community tab or send me a joke in an email. I'm going to put that in the book. Sovereign citizens are special right for all the wrong reasons. If I ever become a vegetable, I want to be shot out of a cannon at PayPal Patty's car. That's extreme, dude. Do that, Liz. Wow. I'm not driving. I'm traveling. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a good one, Clifford. That's a good one. Who was it that told me the officer said, the officer encountered a Sov sit and he was like, I'm traveling, I'm not driving. And the officer said, well, what does that say on your gear shifter right there? What's that? What's the D for on your gear shifter? What's the D for? I don't see a T on there. Somebody said that one. I enjoyed that one. There's no T on there. Dun, 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 dun. Hey, Mass One, thanks for dropping in. And the sovereign citizen is at Lawyer Andy. What is yours, Adam? At Adam Henderly. All right, Adam, I'm gonna find you. So in other news, and this is going to be traveling, right? And this is going to be a topic in one of my upcoming videos. The Superior Court, which is the appeals court here in PA, just upheld the conviction of a First Amendment auditor in a police station. And this is interesting. He came in to record inside the lobby of a police station, and they prosecuted him for defiant trespass, and the jury convicted him, and then the Superior Court upheld it. Now, the First Amendment auditor defended, saying that he had a First Amendment right to record in the lobby of the police station, and the Superior Court did not agree. Now, the analysis is pretty interesting. And I've been saying for a long time that in those common spaces inside of buildings, auditors are generally allowed to record. Well, the courts are starting to come down with some opinions on that. And that's changing. And it's not going in favor of the auditors. Did not go in favor of the auditors. So I'm going to do a video. I'm going to talk about, I'm going to bring up the opinion. And then I also have the video of the arrest. So it might be a two-parter. Joe's Common Sense Academy first two-parter. First, I'm going to show the video of the incident, and then I'm going to go into the actual court opinion. So it should be really fun, and also informative. What else would you expect from corrupt courts? Zayfall, are you an auditor? Do we have an auditor? We have pro auditor people in here. It's like HIPAA and those morons recording. Yeah, well, I mean, come on, listen. I again, when it comes to police and recording police transactions, I do have some sympathy for auditors. But going to police station, going to post offices, going to medical facilities, like, what do you do? What are you trying to prove there? You're pro. So you're pro liberty. Oh, so you're pro auditor. Okay, so we should all be record. Are you pro privacy or are you anti privacy? How about having a little privacy? And that was one of the issues that the court went into in that opinion was if they're in this lobby of the police station, hey, Bonnie, there could be a victim of a terrible crime in there. You could have a rape victim. You could have somebody who was assaulted, somebody who was shot, somebody who was robbed. Okay, and these auditors want to be right in there, just videotaping these people who have legitimate privacy interests. No, public spaces are not open to the public. You are wrong. There are specific public forums that are open to listen, public spaces are open to the public, but they're not open to video recording. Okay, because there's privacy concerns that overlap, especially when you're inside a building like that. So this opinion is gonna put a, and it was interesting because Tucson passed a specific law, and that law, and what the this Shiva and I were what he was saying was the law could have implications just outside of stopping the evil that it wants to stop, right? Because it actually allows the police to prosecute people who come within a perimeter. Well, what's the perimeter, right? That's going to be a case-by-case basis. But regardless, this guy was prosecuted, convicted, and the conviction was upheld under defiant trespass, which is an existing trespassing law. So they didn't even have to pass a new law. And that's what I was trying to say to Shiva is I think you could prosecute most of these under existing law. So it's interesting that they passed a new law. But if you're into the auditor stuff, I know most of my audience, most of my views come from, my sovereign citizen videos. Fair enough. I do more of those. They're more interesting. They're more fun. But I find the auditor stuff interesting as well. And I think you guys will find this video interesting. Tucson also recognized people's right to record police. Yeah, there is. Yeah, they did. And you can record the police from a safe distance. And the same is true where this case was actually in Pennsylvania, out of Williamsport, PA. I have no idea where that is. And it's true, recording the police in public places is generally, I think the United States Supreme Court has written about it, is generally favorable as long as it's done at a safe distance and you don't interfere with what the police are doing. And I think that's fine. And listen, with cameras today, you can zoom in. So zoom in, you really got to be there to record everything. Zoom in. But going indoors into these places where people have expectations of privacy, okay? I mean, how would you feel if you got robbed and beat up, and then you go and you're sitting in the police station crying while they take your report, and there's some guy sitting next to you videotaping you saying, "Oh, this is a public place, my taxpayer dollars." No, you're a jagoff. So those are the auditors that I don't like. But if it's done correctly, I think it's a good thing. Well, that's the interesting thing, Ed, with the signs. So that's something I think that may be developed, or there may be case law out there, because there was a sign at this police station. So the question is, does it even matter if they have a sign? Does it even matter if they have a sign, right? Can they only kick you out if they have a sign, or could they kick you out anyway? So we will see. We will see. Yeah, they don't take statements in public lobbies, but if you're in the public lobby, so if you're in the public lobby of a police, let's say you had an absolute right to just hang out in the public lobby of a police station. Okay, well, you could hang out there and videotape everybody who comes in. So you would see all the victims of crime. You might see all the victims of crimes that day. Not to mention, there are police officers who work undercover, okay, in order to effect arrests, okay? And they also have undercover informants who walk in and out, So there's all kinds of privacy concerns inside the lobby of a police station, and it's a reasonable limitation. And one thing the court said is you can go in there, you can sit in the lobby of a police station, and this is what they do in the courts. You can sit in there with a pen and a notepad. So you want to know what's happening inside the lobby of a police station? Go in, you can sit down, and you can write down what happened. Okay, the court said there's nothing against that. You can sit there, you can write down, you can observe what happened, and shoot. If you're really worried, come in, have two people come in, sit down, observe, and write. But having a video camera is a good thing, but it's pretty invasive because you're recording a person visually and verbally. I mean, you're getting everything there. I think it's fairly invasive. So, yeah, you can sit in the lobby of the police station and you can take notes and you can draw pictures. And that's what most courthouses allow. But to have an absolute right to go in there to record is a bit ridiculous. If the courts allowed that to happen, you'd have some doofus sitting inside the lobby of every police station every day, just like, it's ridiculous. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if SCOTUS has offered an opinion on videotaping the police. You know that I don't know. I know some higher courts have though. Yeah, and the swearing was really what the Tucson, them yelling and swearing at the police was what the Tucson um, law addressed. I don't even think that was necessary because, again, they've been convicted under disorderly conduct for yelling and swearing. So, you know. Boom, 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 boom. USB killer is $60. No way to fix device afterwards. I'm not sure what that is, Lou. I'm not sure. Dun, 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 dun. Do, 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 do. Anything else anybody wants to talk about? I could talk about auditors for a little bit more. I don't know anything about copyrights, Terry. I'm sorry. That's another area where that's a fairly specialized area. Copyrights, trademarks, intellectual property is not my forte. Criminal defense, personal injury, employment law. I do some contracts, landlord tenant. That's the majority of my work. General civil litigation, damages that occur between two businesses. That's the type of stuff that I do, not the more transactional type things, which is like copyrights, trademarks, wills, the drafting of contracts, et cetera, et cetera. But everybody's got to know a little bit about, every attorney's got to know a little bit about contracts. Go to Leonard French. Oh yeah, go to Lawful Masses. Go to Lawful Masses. His channel's great, and he's the man when it comes to copyright contracts, and he is an IP lawyer. IP lawyers, believe it or not, yeah, Chuck is in here. I'm gonna go. So IP lawyers, believe it or not, they have to have a specialized undergraduate education. So, for instance, I had a pointless, useless undergrad. My undergrad was, I majored in political science. I had a minor in Asian studies and a minor in Japanese. So political science is not the type of undergrad where I could then go and become a patent attorney or an intellectual property attorney. Intellectual property attorneys have to have specialized undergraduate degrees. For instance, there was my entire law school class, we had one patent attorney, actually really smart dude, and he was in the Army, he was an engineer. So because he had an engineering degree and then he went to law school, he was eligible to become a patent attorney. There's a special bar exam, the patent bar. So you have to take the regular bar exam plus the patent bar exam. It's a lot of work and a lot of BS, but those guys make a ton of money. I mean, it's very specialized areas of law, but there is a ton of money in it. Tons. Boom, 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 boom. Interesting New Jersey diver. I'll take a look at that case if I get the time. Yeah, Leonard French, he's got a good thing going on. I like his channel too. You know, he does some cool stuff with the screen that I want to upgrade. I think you can do a lot of that with Discord, or I need actually Chuck chases the facts. I got to download some stuff so I can do some more fun things with my screen. I'm done talking about First Amendment auditors. So if you guys want to talk about something else now, P. Barnes. Oh, so let me talk about the P. Barnes video. So I found that video on the Am I Being Detained Reddit page, which you guys should be a part of if you're not already. I get a lot of my content off there. I got all my emails open. So I get a lot of my content off of the Am I Being Detained? And thank you, Chuck. That was the ding. I got that email. Thanks. I had my my Common Sense Academy email open. So that video I got off Am I Being Detained? And I did a little commentary on it, and I posted it, and it got flagged and pulled down right away. Now, on the Reddit page, they had stated that that video was getting taken down. So whoever shot it is hitting people with copyright strikes, I believe, whether they're fake or real. You know, the thing with YouTube is if somebody hits you, it can be a pain. If they think it's somewhat legit, you got to appeal it, blah, blah, blah. So YouTube actually took that video down for me, which was disappointing because it was a lot of fun. And I even did like a fairly complex, like I did a legal analysis, which I don't do on all of my videos. But yeah, that was the first time I had seen the P. Barnes video. And I mean, that was pretty hilarious. I mean, we're talking about him not wasting time at all, at all. I'm being detained right now by this live stream. Yes, you are, James. You cannot leave, sir. You cannot leave. We have poster 8. Poster 8. Yeah, I could have claimed fair, but it's not worth it for me to fight a single video. It's just not. Some of these YouTubers who you know get 100,000 views per video, and you know they make like $1,000 every video or whatever. They the $1,000. Yeah, I mean it might be worth it for them to fight a copyright strike, but I'm going to spend all this time sending emails and they make you write a paragraph and all this crap, so it wasn't worth it. Joe Palmetto, isn't there a point where we say enough about they keep coming back over and over? Yeah, but you can't just stop them, Jason. What are you going to do? I mean, hopefully this channel, you know, maybe demystifies a few of these people. I think the police are dealing with them very heavy-handed at this point. But the internet spawns movements and groups like this, so it's a tough cookie to break. Does anybody want to call in and have a discussion? Anybody want to call in? How about I got these everybody in here, look, all right, you want to talk about First Amendment auditors? We can argue more about First Amendment auditors. I'd like a phone call, though. Does anybody want to call in? Yes or no? Boom, 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 boom. Telephone call here. William Cregan, thank you very much. Yes, the Giant Eagle. The Giant Eagle. I will be going to the Giant Eagle. That's where I do my shopping. There's one right up the street. There's the number. Taco Slut. You want to call in? Talk for a couple of minutes? I'm better than the Legal Eagle. Man, see, the Legal Eagle, here's the thing is there's niches. Who says, do you say niche or niche? There's niches/niches on YouTube. And the Legal Eagle, you know, he was smart. He got in early. He makes very fancy, nice looking videos. I mean, I could do what he does, okay? But the thing is he got in early and he just talks about legal topics that come up in the news, all right, or on TV. I mean, I could have done what he did, but he got in there first, and so he's okay, all right. Hi, you're here on the Common Sense Academy. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Joe? Barbecue Bob here.
Hey, Bob, I'm good. How you doing?
Living the dream, man. Living the dream.
Yeah. Is there anything specific you wanted to chat about?
Well, yeah. I sort of wanted. Oh, I had to turn your volume down. Sorry. I sort of wanted to ask if you thought Pennsylvania was going to enact any of those statutes like Arizona did.
I don't think so. And the reason, and I think that this recent case will tell you why. Like I said, I'll do some videos on this, and then maybe after my videos, my next live stream, we'll talk about it more, is because the Superior Court just upheld a conviction for defiant trespass for First Amendment auditors. Now, that is, again, for people who enter public buildings, right? So they were able to convict this guy. So what the legislators around here will probably say is, well, maybe we don't need another law to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I now that I don't live in Pennsylvania anymore, I kind of wish they would, but I live in Kentucky now and they don't.
Well, here's the other thing, and I said this when I was talking with Shiva, and I said it today, is disorderly conduct is a wide-ranging law. So that dude, Bao, who was causing the problems in Tucson, also got convicted in Arizona of disorderly conduct. Like, disorderly conduct, sort of this catch-all law. So again, I don't know if something like that is needed, Bob, because if an auditor gets unruly, there's usually existing laws that the police can convict him under.
I kind of like the idea of disorderly conduct being broadly applied, though.
And you do, or you don't like that idea?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I think you shouldn't be allowed to swear at cops like that in public and all that.
I agree, Bob. I agree, and I think, and that's how it was. And it was funny when they convicted the guy in Texas. The police did a press conference. He appealed it. That appeal is still pending. I think he got convicted in another state as well. The interesting thing about the Tucson law is, like that guy, I can't pronounce his name, Zeffel or whatever, said in the chat, was the law also, because it was a couple of different parts. One part of the law said, you know, it's okay, you know, we recognize a First Amendment right to, for people to video the police, right? Like, they recognize it as long as it's done correctly. And then the law outlined when it's not done correctly. So it was interesting.
Did you ever see the video of the kid? I think they call him Bucket Boy.
No.
Rhode Island. He started calling. He said really terrible things to the cops about, you know, fellatio and things like that. I'm trying to keep it clean.
Sure.
And they went and arrested him.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, you know, that's always been an interesting and sensitive topic in America with the First Amendment, is when do words cross a line, right? And you often, I mean, when you watch the pundits on TV, when we're talking about politics, they'll say, well, you can't yell fire in a crowded, movie theater. Like, that's correct. You can't yell fire if it's fake, right? You can be convicted for that. You also can't, like, specifically instigate someone to violence, right? Like, and what they were talking about was, like, a politician who has a rowdy crowd and he says, you go beat those people up over there, sort of maybe what Trump did at his rallies. Okay, like, so that's, certain words aren't protected, but there's actually a lot of words that aren't protected. Terroristic threats. There was a famous case out of, I think, in the 70s, where somebody, like, went somewhere and wore, like, a t-shirt that said, like, F the police or something. But I think it's just common sense here at the Common Sense Academy that if somebody's yelling certain words at people too many times and too often. Oh, you know what that case was? The middle finger. Whether the middle finger is protected under free speech, right? That's interesting. But enough, like, yeah, if enough cuss words are coming out of your mouth, you're crossing a line where it's no longer protected by the First Amendment.
Exactly. It should be an actionable offense.
And yeah, and I believe it is. And again, Pennsylvania disorderly conduct covers that. You know, the thing about Tucson was that was an ordinance just for that city. But I wouldn't be surprised if some states, because state legislators, you know, this stuff's often brought to their attention if it's a problem. You know, they might get on it and pass a law. We could see some states doing it statewide in the future. Hi, George.
I'll tell you what, buddy, I can't wait to get your book.
Oh, thank you, Bob. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun to write. Like I said, 20,000 words. I'm trying to cover, and the way I envision it is because like I have a section which is like the sovereign citizen lingo, but like there's so much of it, Bob, and I watch videos and new stuff comes in, so I'm adding to it. The way I envision this book is this: I'm gonna do it like I'm gonna make changes to it like once a year. So this will be the first edition, right? And it does have like stories and explanations, but you know, as time goes on, if there's new words, this or that, I'll put new stuff in. So it'll be interesting.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
I appreciate you calling in, Bob. And what's the weather down there in Kentucky?
Same as up there, cold.
Yeah, it seems like a Midwest thing. It snowed. It was Washington County where it snowed, which is, as you know, south of Pittsburgh.
It was 75 2 days ago, and now it's 55.
Pretty much the same here, man. Pretty much the same here. A couple days ago, it was nice and warm. Today, I'm walking out with my jacket. Like, what the hell?
I'm telling you. All right, brother.
All right.
I appreciate the time, man.
I appreciate you calling in. Have a good one, Bob.
You too, brother.
All right. Bye-bye. Is it legal for them? Well, they can call themselves the press. It doesn't make them the press. You know what I mean? You can call yourself whatever you want. It doesn't make you. Thank you, George. I appreciate you making it. I appreciate you subscribing and watching my videos. Thank you very much. When blah blah fold the toilet paper, or do you believe the whoa, Scotchka. Holy cow. Listen, nobody has toilet paper right now. We're all out. We're all out. Auditors are people with authority issues. They were bullied in high school. That's for sure. I believe that. It seems like the soft state auditor ideology appeals to the conspiracy fringe. It dovetails. The more obscure the reasoning, the more convincing it seems. Yeah, it does, Marshall. And I actually, this is getting deep here, but I actually put this in the book a little bit. Whoops. Nailed my table. I'm going to get deep for the last couple minutes. Is like I talk about what's called syncretism or syncretic theory, where two different bodies of thought or ideas start to mold together, right? And the best example, well, maybe not the best, but a big example is in Japan, right? I lived in Japan for 2.5 years. I've talked about it on here before, where the Japanese had a native religion. It's called Shinto. And later on, Buddhism was introduced into Japan, and they've sort of melded together and for the Japanese people. And so they'll have, like when they get married, they'll do it with a Shinto priest. When people die, the funeral is usually a Buddhist funeral, okay? And the ideas mix and match. Well, I believe that, yeah, with sovereign citizens, you see that a lot, like sovereign citizens and conspiracy theories will mix and match together. And what I found really interesting, and I wrote about it in the book because I just found this interesting, is every country has its own little mix. You know, there's regional differences to sovereign citizenship, right? We were watching, like you have the Washita Nation, which is like the Moorish sovereign citizen flavor down in Louisiana or in the South. And then you have, you know, the standard Moorish sovereign citizens. Well, the funny thing about the Moors is they have their own theory, but they also borrow from the wider sovereign citizen movement. So, you know, at the same time that they'll be claiming that they come from Morocco or the Kingdom of Moab, or they're aboriginal to the United States, you know, they'll be borrowing the standard sovereign citizen theories. The United States is a corporation, et cetera, et cetera. The banks overtook it, and when we went off the gold standard, so they all meld together. It's syncretic theory. When I found that guy from Canada, yeah, in the UK, it's Freeman on the Land. As Shiva told me, I didn't realize that they basically go by a different name. But you know, that guy in Canada who said, "Oh, it's actually the Republic. I'm a citizen of the Republic of Canada," right? So he's claiming that he's like an Aboriginal, and then they talked about the relationship between Canada and the Queen's oath, right? Their own little flavor. And then in the UK, it's the same thing. They claim that they're freemen on the land, and there's this, and they talk about a Dun and Bradstreet number being assigned to the police, which makes them corporate police. Dun and Bradstreet is this business analyst company that's big in the UK, big here too. But here it's all about your social security number. It's fun. They all have their own different flavors, but they also borrow from each other. So absolutely. And then, you throw in some QAnon, and then you throw in some flat earthers, and then you can throw in the 5G, and it gets good. Like that UK Sovsit who was talking about the microwaves, like she was definitely a 5G person. And I was really surprised chatting with him and learning. And I was chatting with another mate from the UK who was telling me how a lot of these conspiracy theorists over there are setting fire to 5G towers. And the funny thing is, the towers that they're burning aren't even 5G towers. Like, they're burning 4G towers. And it's just like, oh my gosh. So it's the kind of thing, like, once you give people, you give them one sip of the Kool-Aid, it's easy to maybe slide over the whole pitcher so that they can drink it all. It's just crazy. Taze, the stock market, he took $400 he saved and double it. Yeah, I bought some stock recently. I believe now is the time to invest, but you should be, I think you should be, yeah, you might make some short-term gains, but I think it's going to take a while for the economy to come back. I work in the legal industry here in Canada. Your analysis is always spot on. Good work. Thank you, Marshall. I think in a lot of ways our laws are different, but probably are similar more so. I can trust Joe when he renounces his oath to the Queen. I will never renounce my oath to the Queen. Never. Good evening, Swindle Hoodwinked. Light Tajiri Bay. Oops. What was that comment? Has a video up now to show you how to bypass paying postage for the Moors. Yeah, there was a video where this one sovereign did this little signature instead of a stamp, which apparently was something that was in effect for the Pony Express 150 years ago. It's crazy. Both are based on British common law. Absolutely. That's the foundation of American law and English law and Canadian law, and I would assume Australian law, and maybe even South Africa and India and a lot of the former British Empire colonies. Hey, William, thank you very much. You want to do another same time sip? Another same time sip, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit. Everybody raise your cup, your glass in the air. This is the last of my coffee. Have a sip with me. This is our going away sip because I'm going to go off the air in about 5 minutes, but it tastes better when we sip together. Cheers. Delicious. She explains in detail how she's defrauding the postal system. That will be used against her in court. Not smart. Not smart. But I listened to the History of England podcast. I don't know if you guys, I'm a big history nerd. And was listening recently to the History of England podcast, and I got up to, I don't know, maybe the 1200s. But I really found the early English history with Alfred the Great and the invasion of the Scandinavians, the Danes, and all that was really cool. But they talked about after William the Conqueror, the Normans conquered England and set up, the Norman kingdom. And one of the kings, Henry the First or Henry the Second, would literally travel around to the different towns and cities and hold court. And he would hear cases. Like the king would come to your town and hear cases. And I just thought that was I just thought that was really cool, you know, because the king was like the ultimate authority, and he wasn't, I'm sure, the regular judge in those towns, but he would go around to the town and, you know, maybe spend a day or a half day in the local hall hearing legal cases. And I don't know if, you know, I don't think that a lot of the laws were written down at that time. But there was certainly legal precedent, and I'm sure a lot of them were written down. But it was really cool. I think it was King Henry II who did that. So pretty neat. I'm actually a big fan of the common law. I like it. The reason I like this is the actual common law, like the fake common law, but I like the common law because it puts a little more authority in the hands of a judge than you would have in a straight, like most of continental Europe, like a straight civil code system. I like the common law because the judges have certain laws and certain situations. The judges have a little bit more authority, and I stand by my claim that the thing about a judge is, do you want the legislator in Washington deciding every case, or do you want the judge in this town, in this county, in this neighborhood, who's actually to have a little bit of freedom, right? So that judge sitting there is going to hear the facts of the trial, see the witnesses, see the attorneys, actually read and look at all the documents. In my opinion, that judge is in the best position to make the best decision. And of course, it's not always going to be right. Some judges are better than others, but still, I like the judges having a little bit of freedom and authority when it comes to deciding on the law. And I believe the common law, the countries with a common law tradition retain more of that ability, whereas a system that is more civil code, the judges have less power. It's just do it by the book. When you buy gas, you pay taxes. I'm a fan of federalism too, on the gas, and create joinder with the state. I mean, Taze, I don't know what to say except that's ludicrous and kind of hilarious. But, you know, the sovereigns live in a fake world where if they consent to anything with the state, they've created joinder and they lose all of their independence and authority. It's all BS. But it's really interesting. But it's BS and kind of fun. Okay, everyone. I usually go for about an hour. We're at an hour and two. I'd like to thank William Cregan for his generous super chats and donations, sir. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. It's people like you and all of my friends on Patreon, and really everybody, but they do get preference. Everybody who supports me on Patreon and super chats really give me the energy and help me have the time to do these things. So have a terrific evening. Thank you for joining me. Don't go out there auditing and sovereign citizening. Let's be good citizens, all right? Everybody have a nice night.